Namaste everyone. In today's video, we're going to focus on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 2.1. So this is the first sutra of the second chapter, and this particular chapter helps us to understand the yogic sadhana. It is meant to be a more simplified version in which many people who are interested in a yogic journey can start this practice. And so Muni Patanjali lays down a more practical path through this sutra and through this entire chapter. So let's get into understanding what this yogic sadhana is all about and start with the very first sutra, which talks about Kriya Yoga. So let's look at the sutra itself. The sutra goes, Tapas Swadhyay Ishwar Pranithanani Kriya Yogaha. Alright, so now that we've heard the sutra, let's get into understanding all the different meanings. The first word over here is tapaha, and this is referring to the word tapas or tapasya, which refers to being heated up or being consumed by your intention and your action towards a particular goal. So this is tapas. Then comes the second word, which is talking about Swadhyay. And Swadhyay is made up of two smaller words within it. The first being Swa, which means self, and Adhyaya, which means a fixed portion or a particular chapter. Then coming to the next word, which is Ishwar Pranithan, and this is what we have understood even in chapter 1. Here we're talking about surrender to a certain divinity or surrender to what we know as a power or higher power that we believe in. After that, we come to the word Kriya Yogaha, which is telling us that all of these three together comprise the process of Kriya Yoga, which is often known as the yoga again of action. So we're going to now understand in more detail what this entire sutra is saying. And also, in all of these words, there's a little word called Ani right after Ishwar Pranithanani, which is the plural of all those words and indicates that these three words together form Kriya Yoga. So now let's look at the exact explanation of the sutra. So through this sutra, Muni Patanjali is trying to give us the easiest path into the yogic process, because he recognized that maybe the samadhi path would be a little challenging for everyone to practice. It either needs a certain level of advanced practice or it needs certain inborn sanskaras which allow you to go on that particular path. But for a newbie and somebody who's just starting off, this is a little bit easier, where you start with the more action-oriented or the more body-focused practices of yoga, because that most people find easier to adopt than, say, the mental attitudes, the mental aspects. So therefore, we start off first with Tapas, Swadhyay and Ishwar Pranithan, which is denoted as the start of the sadhana path. Now let's understand these three words step by step. And the first word, which is tapas, refers to doing something very regularly every single day through your body, in which you're consistently engaging the body to do a very particular action. And here we're usually referring to the aspect of pranayama, because pranayama is considered the highest form of tapas. And therefore, in this tapasya format, usually most commentators are referring to some form of daily pranayama that we practice. So now you could end up choosing whichever type of pranayama is taught to you by your teacher or guru and do that every day at a fixed time for the same duration or as described by your guru. So this is number one, which is our tapas. And again, this is considered to be an easier version, as Muni Patanjali realized that more difficult tapas like meditation or moving towards dharana and dhyan might be quite challenging for some people. So starting at this middle ground of pranayama is a little bit more doable. Then we come to the second word, which is Swadhyay. And now Swadhyay particularly is referring to the reading or the concentration upon a particular work or some words. Now here we can look at Swadhyay in two different ways. One is that you actually read an external book that you concentrate on and read the same chapter or paragraph day after day, so it becomes habitual. The second also is this internal self-reflection where you're reading your own book of your own life and starting to unravel it a little by little. So Swadhyay can have both meanings, the external where we read something and make that a habit, and of course the internal where we read our own selves and make that a habit. So now over here, the commentators have explained to us that it's very important to choose the same chapter usually, because the more you repeat the same thing, it becomes habitual and you don't have to think about restarting that habit from scratch. So therefore, it's important to select something that means a lot to you and that you will be able to do every single day. Even when we look at modern day movements, usually our gurus in today's day and age will give us one mantra to keep chanting, because they know that if you overwhelm somebody with a lot of mantras, they may not be able to handle it. But one mantra every day is something that people are more likely to practice and not get overwhelmed by. In fact, even in Buddhism groups such as BSG and others in India even today, we notice that they have one particular sutra which they will chant again and again, and this helps them to be in sync with that sutra and to understand it even further. Whether it be also ISKCON, which gives us the Maha Mantra, where we chant certain words to actually elevate our understanding and to understand it even further. So all of these different groups know that in today's day and age, what humans need the most is just one mantra that will help them to stay in sync with themselves and do a daily Swadhyay without fail. So choosing this one mantra, one chapter, very important. And further, what Muni Patanjali is explaining to us is that ideally we should choose it with respect to our Ishta Devata. So when we decide who our Ishta Devata is, and this could be anybody, so whatever faith you have, whatever you believe in, it could be anything from within that particular faith, and this becomes your Ishta Devata or your personal divinity or your personal Godhead, and then you kind of start to choose a prayer or a mantra or recitation that refers mostly to them. So then it goes hand in hand and becomes very easy to follow along this path of Swadhyay. And finally, coming to the third word, which is Ishwar Pranithan. In this part, we are explained that yes, Ishwar Pranithan, of course, is a mental process, but it's also a physical one. And through practicing Ishwar Pranithan at different parts of the day, either by chanting or through the Gayatri Mantra, we can actually start to know what that means through our bodies when we say that we would be interested in Ishwar Pranithan. And here I must say that a lot of faiths have amazing practices to keep this faith alive. For example, even in Islam, we have the namaz, and that I think is an amazing practice because it allows you 5 times a day to keep on remembering the faith and the divinity that you aspire to, and that's a great practice I feel that they've cultivated in their own religion and tradition. And therefore I feel no matter which faith you belong to, you can choose whatever practice you prefer, do it many times through the day, and keep yourself in sync with your chosen Ishta Devata. And so even through yogic practices, we believe that either through dawn, noon and dusk, if you practice even 3 times a day, the same kind of practices, it will be super beneficial and your mind and body will be connected to the same thing again and again. So this is what we know as Ishwar Pranithan. And all of these 3, when done together, pranayam as well as Swadhyay, whichever scripture you've chosen, and Ishwar Pranithan, Gayatri Mantra or any other mantra, all of this when done together will help you stay in sync with Kriya Yoga. And through this, you will be in sync with yourself, with the rest of the world, and just in a much better state of mind throughout. And therefore, Kriya Yoga is considered one of the easiest ways to get into the sadhana path so that you're connected with your chosen form of divinity and your chosen form of practice. And I love how over here, this is such a powerful thing to remember, that we don't have to tell anybody what their Ishta Devata is. We don't have to convince someone whom to follow and what to believe. Instead, we just have to lay the path out and encourage people to do their own practice. Because the more in sync we become with ourselves, the more space we have for other people to coexist and to understand what each other and what everyone else is going through. So hopefully we can all make space for each other's preferences and kind of allow people to follow what they believe in and just encourage each person to follow their own path. So this is a little bit about Kriya Yoga. In the next video, we'll understand even more why Kriya Yoga is important. So I hope you join us for the next one. Now, if you like this video, please give us a big thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and how you practice Kriya Yoga. And if you enjoyed this, also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We look forward to seeing you in the next video or in our next class or workshop. Until then, take care, and we're going to see you very soon. Namaste.